Israel, and there are many more places like this here on this earth. Some in plain sight. Writer undisclosed meditation for freedom. With the latest discoveries now being found at Antarctica, South Pole, due to the rapid melting of the ice. Things that were once hidden and kept secret is now coming to light. One of which is the discovery of a huge lake with fresh water down near where the Russians have established base, which is known as the Vostok Station. What was important about this discovery was that the lake was discovered 200 miles down beneath the surface. What was found down there was another city which has been flash frozen, possibly dating back to the time of the Great Floods, leaving one to believe that the pole shift that happened at the time caused the temperature of the continent to drop rapidly, leaving the people frozen in time. Everyone lives here who they. We are not alone. Draconians, a hybrid humanoid species, sharing some facial similarities with that of the fictional Draconians portrayed in movies. Nephilim, the giant people, are the offspring of the sons of God, human in appearance, although the genetic trait is to bear 6 fingers or 6 toes. Aesculapians, snake hybrid most commonly found in London, land of the serpents, can alternate between forms depending on its environment. Blue Avarians, humanoid, generally depicted with bird-like wings on its back and bird-like features. You can see images of these beings depicted on the Egyptians' walls. The Greys, of alien origin, artificially created, modified race used by other alien races as servants or even slaves to execute tasks such as abductions and other things. Aryans, spiritual beings of human origin able to connect on all levels of the 13 planes of existence, conscious and subconscious levels. This is how you move a mountain with thought or muscle. Annunaki are the most powerful deities in the pantheon, descendants of An, the god of the heavens, and a primary function is to decree the fates of humanity. Reptilian shapeshifters, our biggest threat: blood drinking, flesh-eating, shape-shifting extraterrestrial reptilian humanoids with only one objective: to enslave the human race. Paschats, the lion race of humanoids, which are highly represented all over the world via television as well as the British Empire and Hollywood. Living among us, we do not see them, as they can change our perception so that just see another human. Arcadians, Pans, gods of the wild, shepherds and flocks, nature of mountain wilds, rustic music and impromptus, and companion of the nymphs, having the hindquarters, legs, and horns of a goat in the same manner as a faun or satyr. There are more. However, I have not listed them as I believe them to be more of an idea rather than factual. So how long have we known? Discovery: we were not alone. In 1920, when Nikola Tesla started understanding how EFV and numbers were all connected, putting the human way above anything they had expected at this time from us. There were many others besides Nikola Tesla designing and creating free energy devices. Why did they show themselves? Because we created weapon technologies that used the Earth's magnetic field to send energy into the either, threatening their homes as well as we all love in the same place. For example, United States detonated 2 nuclear weapons over the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6 and 9, 1945, respectively. The United States dropped the bombs after obtaining the consent of the United Kingdom, as required by the Quebec Agreement. In a world and communication, as above so below, there is a large network of tunnels and subterranes that are below the Earth. They can only be accessed through openings located around the globe. This allows them to travel to and from their underworld to our world and vice versa. If you're within the circle of trust, you can go there also, but it's not as simple as just finding the cave. You have to know a lot of things. You have to be prepared for the journey. I do not mean physically, I mean mentally, as these places, openings, are guarded and not by what we know as human. They know you coming before you do, so if they do not want you to enter, you will never find the opening, even if you know where it is. As a lot of these openings are for pure heart and understand, you need to leave your ego long before You take this trip, they will not be deceived. Two sides to every coin. You cannot have light without dark. You might get lucky or unlucky depending on how you look at it. I say this because most of humanity has bad intent. Closing parenthesis. Therefore would never be high enough in consciousness to live in the higher realm chambers. Leaving us to only gain access to one of the darker realms. This is how the powers that be in the upper worlds, us, who are being manipulated, communicate with these deities, demigods better known as the fallen. The Book of Enoch tells you about these beings and how they came to be. It was taken out of the scriptures because it was deemed of too much information for the general public, so was only made knowledge within secret societies. Times have changed now, and more people are becoming aware of this scripture that was left out. They supply us with technology, we supply them with food. It's a special kind of food known in the occult circles and around people who know as kidney corn. As well as allowing 1,000s of abductions to take place yearly for test of humans. Technology given to CERN, who are a European Organization for Nuclear Research that operates the largest particle physics laboratory in the world. Established in 1954. The technology CERN has been being given is all designed so that we can break the seventh seal and put G5 online. Coming full circle. The singularity is then set up connecting us to the cloud. They will then take over. Until they take over with the singularity, as they will be controlling it. CERN is the abbreviated title for an ancient deity Cernos, whose name means horned one. Also known as a god of nature, life or fertility. The god of death, symbolizing the symbol or restoration after destruction, and the lord of the underworld. They unveiled half of the truth in 2004. The Dance of Destruction, Nataraja, outside the headquarters of CERN. It's no coincidence. On the 18th of June 2004, in a very occult ceremony, CERN unveiled Shiva statue. Nataraja is a depiction of the Hindu god Shiva as the cosmic ecstatic dancer. His dance is called Tandavaman or Danta. Depending on how he is positioned outside CERN, the dance depicts destruction. Shiva is one of three members of the Trinity, the Hindu Trinity of the cosmic functions of creation, preservation and destruction. Brahma, the creator, Vishnu is the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer, also known as the transformer, make up the Trinity. Real high-end occultists have always been aware of this fact. The story was that it was given as gift from India to celebrate its association with CERN. But they have been in business since the 1060s. It was given as a mark of achievement of the work they have done together, as they now had the information that they needed to proceed in creating the collision machine which crashes particles of matter and changes things, so that they later move on to creating G5 for the singularity, connecting humans to the cloud, all in time for when they break the seventh seal. Particle collision. What could happen? So what do you mean by particle collision? It was never about mapping out the fabrics of the earth. The collision machine was created to in effect pierce the veil, taking us from three-dimensional living, which is how people who do not meditate on higher levels live now, which is 92% population, into a four-dimensional world. This is why the film Bird Box was brought out, to show the people in the know what's coming. The things deemed supernatural or unexplainable will be visible for all to see, including the shapeshifter that reside here in the upper world, as well as the deities and entities that will be released when the seventh seal is broken, creating mass hysteria. Imagine everything you was told that was a lie and turned out to be the total opposite, including the fact that we are not spinning in space. All Freemasons, government and the elite know this. They always have it even on their main symbol, and it's on the United Nations symbol in plain sight. They are laughing at you, not with you, when you are mocking the flat earthers. That's why a treaty was put in place in 1950, the longest still standing treaty in history, to stop anyone going to Antarctic without clearance. You can't just go. Because when we first made contact and discovered the hidden lands beyond the poles, we were warned away. Access to the land beyond the poles. Not everyone is allowed to visit. Access is only given to members of the 13 bloodlines or above can enter, or scientists allowed to carry out experiments after which their memories are wiped using MK Ultra. These are not your average humans. The scientists, these people have been bred for this under special programs by fracturing the mind to create multiple personalities needed for different jobs. The education system was set up to make you think otherwise. There is an edge, but you will never find it. Why? Because all humans are restricted to where they can and cannot go. If you leave a state, they know. All pilots Freemasons, so they know also. This was something you only got told if you needed to know because of your job. So why are people now learning of this? The reason why more people are finding out the truth has been going on for a while. This is due to the MK Ultra programming. They have to take you as a child in order to fracture the mind, because it is easier this way. But over time, after a lot of mind clearing, they break down. They are then released back into society. The problem that started with this was due to the internet, as people was sharing the stories and they were getting a lot of attention. There was not a platform to share your story years ago. Has this been going on since the 1950s? Times have changed. What people found that was at around age 30 to 35 they start getting flashbacks of lives they don't remember. These are the people who have researched what happened to them because they were looking for answers, because they knew what they remembered but it did not make sense. And are now the people exposing a lot of truths that we kept hidden from the general public. The vast cities beneath our feet. There has been much speculation as to whether or not we are alone on this earth. The underworld is a plane between spirits where the either-or spirit becomes nature. Nature returns back to spirit, making it both physical and a spiritual realm. So what I am about to tell you will blow your mind. Literally below you will find a list of places in which you can access these caverns into the underworld. Stonehenge, one of the stones, will reveal an undercarriage passage which take you to an underground colony of humanoids. Westminster, London. There are 4 openings to the undergrounds at Westminster, as the Reptilians are separated by 2 colonies, the Reptilian shapeshifter and the Aesculapian shapeshifters. Khufu's horizon, most commonly known as the Great Pyramid of Giza. There is only one opening here, which you will find in the 6th chamber of the pyramid. This will lead you to the underworld of the Annunaki. Ragnarok Mountain. There are many openings at this location. 2 are at the bottom, 2 halfway up, and 2 at the top when you reach the clouds. This will take you to the underground of the Pleiadians, known as the Lyrians. Antarctica, one of the largest undercover civilization in the world, residing in an area 3 times the size of America, offering many openings, large and small, which are located at the North and South Poles. This is not secret to the elites. Hence the treaty that was put in place. The Antarctic Treaty was signed in Washington on the 1st of December 1959 by the 12 countries whose scientists had been active in and around Antarctica during the International Geophysical Year of 1957-58. It entered into force in 1961 and has since been acceded to by many other nations. The total number of parties to the treaty is now 53. This is because of the anomalies and what they found when they got there. It's not just ice. Everything you think has become extinct lives age and resides here. Pilot General Byrd made this discovery also and was warned of speaking to the public until his finally days, when he came clean and his son posted the video on the internet. Aurora Borealis, the one in the north. Here is another entrance. This is the entrance through the Holy Grail. It is where the Black Sun resides. As above, so below. To gain access to this realm, you have to have pure intent, or one will perish. There is no illness in these places, and people, humanoids, reptilians, can live for hundreds if not thousands of years. Time passes differently here. It's not like the upper world. This is why no planes are permitted to fly over the North Pole. However, exceptions are given to the South Pole with the right clearance. This is where the Atlanteans reside. Sunjun Caves, located in Vietnam. Here you will find more than 3 passages that will take you to the underworld of the Brahma. These entrances are guarded by monks and have been guarded since the beginning of time. Shambhala, the kingdom, is laid out in precisely the same form as an 8-petaled lotus blossom, surrounded by a chain of snow mountains. This is the home of the advanced reptilian race Naga. These entrances are also guarded by the Buddhist monks. You will not fall upon its entrance. You have to be shown. The Potala Palace, based in Lhasa, China, is the entrance to the another advanced civilization. Known as the Blue Avarians or the Ramas, they are half human, half reptilian. The entrance can be found in the center of the palace. There is a secret paneling that will take you into the tunnels where the journey will take 40 days, as some of the cavities are very small, so a lot of preparation is required beforehand, fasting, etc. The Vatican, located in the Vatican City, one for the smallest cities in the world. Here there are multiple entrances here which are under Vatican control. No member of the public will ever gain access here unless you are part of the order and have foregone training. Easter Island, located Polynesia. On this island you will find 2 openings to the vast underworld network leading to many of the underground colonies located around the world. The Amazon jungle, isolated from most of the upper world. Here you can locate the underworld for almost what would seem about 15 days. One must travel through caverns until you start to see balls of bright lights. You will soon start to notice glowing discs. This is when you have reached the home of the Nephilims, begins of up to 15 feet tall. Here there is a vast ecosystem of vegetation. The Diary of Richard E. Byrd. Suppressed for years. What was Richard Byrd trying to tell the public so many years ago that we are only now able to understand? It started like this. I must write this diary in secrecy and obscurity. It concerns my Arctic flight on the 19th of February 1947. There comes a time when the rationality of men must fade into insignificance and one must accept the unavailability of the truth. One is not at liberty to disclose this information, and chances are it will never be seen by the light of public scrutiny. But I must do my duty for all to read one day. Hopefully the greed and exploitation of certain of mankind will no longer be able to suppress that which is truth. What he wrote next would blow people's minds. Richard then continued to unveil a picture that we had never imagined. He said that he had traveled 1,700 miles into the Antarctic. He was surprised when the ice below gave way and showed green forests, lakes and rivers, as well as many animals we had believed had been extinct living there at peace, such as mammoths. He noted that everything had a unique and inexplicable color. To his amazement, he saw spacecrafts which were flying beside him. He was then escorted to the city on the other side of the poles. They were able to take over the controls on his aircraft and landed him safely. On arrival, he was graciously greeted by civilians. They called this place Agartha. Richard and his crew were then taken to see whom they told him was the ruler of Agartha, the master. Richard describes this man as delicate and ancient. They were then told that they were allowed to enter through the invisible barriers because of his moral and ethical character. The master went on to say that ever since America had dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, their race became very concerned for human safety and the survival of the planet. When they intervened, we were attacked by your military. Richard was asked to repeat this to the USA. They were then guided by their host back to the plains and guided back to the upper world, passing on the message from the master. In closing, Richard said on arrival back to the US, he briefed the Pentagon on his findings and was interviewed intensely by top security forces and was ordered to remain silent on all that he had learned on behalf of humanity, so that they could maintain the controlled structure which was starting to take place. Something like this would have changed everything. Opening parenthesis. Incredible is all he could call it. I am constantly reminded that I am a military man and that I must obey orders. 10 years later he wrote a final entry in his diary which said, "These last few years elapsed since 1947 have not been kind. I now make my final entry. I must state that I have faithfully kept this matter secret as directed all these years. It has been completely against my values of moral right. Now I seem to sense the long nights coming on, and I know that this secret will not die with me. This can be the only hope for mankind. I have seen the truth, and it has quickened my spirit and has set me free from the upper world trappings and restrictions. I have done my duty towards the monstrous military-industrial complex. Now the long night approaches, there shall be no end. As when the long night at the Arctic ends, the sunshine of truth will rise for all to see, and those in its darkness shall fall into its light. For I have seen the land beyond the poles, the great unknown." Richard E. Byrd. So was your mind blown? Do you have any questions on this subject? Then don't forget to leave your comment below. Meditation for freedom, free your mind and the madness will follow. Awakening.
Breaking in and shaping up, then checking out on the prison bus. This is it, the apocalypse. Whoa, I'm waking up. I feel it in my bones enough to make my system blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age.
You know, innocent people are being shot, killed, beaten, pepper sprayed, and it just keeps going and going. They don't want to stop. So
Sun hasn't died deep in my bones.
Whether there was any land north of the North American continent. He made that first discovery flight, and I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole because it's getting crowded up there now because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
Well, Admiral,
Yeah.
would you say that since you've been to both the extremities of Earth, are these expeditions to such far-off places, are they getting easier because of modern techniques, or is danger still close at hand?
Well, it's a little risky, but nothing like it used to be with the old slow planes and the small cruising radius where we had to put down bases. We replaced the dog teams, and of course that was a big improvement. But now the planes go much faster and they're safer, and they have a much bigger cruising radius. You haven't got the danger of a terribly heavy load.
Admiral, an expedition to which I believe you're the advisor is now en route. What is that expedition doing?
Well, that's the icebreaker Atka, and it's a reconnaissance expedition. It's going down to the South Pole area to make certain observations and to look for some bases. They will be back in April, and they will report back, and upon the information we get from that undertaking, we will base the bigger expedition that's to follow.
Is that very definitely planned, or is that...
That is being planned right now. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, at the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
Well, Admiral Byrd, I can understand, I think everybody can, the interest in the North Pole because it's so near our greatest challenger, Soviet Russia. But why this interest in the bottom of the world? Nobody living down there, is there?
No, it's pretty cold. There's only one permanent resident, that's the emperor penguin. The little ones live further north. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime. Because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources. And, you know, as the world shrinks with an ever-increasing acceleration, far-flung places, once useless, like we thought the North Pole was, and no man's land, become very useful. The bottom of the world will be important, not only to us, but to our allies.
I was going to ask you, does it have military importance?
It has some, and as the world shrinks, it will continue to shrink with an ever-increasing acceleration, thus bringing these places closer. And in the future, I can see a time when it will be very, very important strategically.
Well, has the development of air power increased the strategic importance of places like the
very much
Palma Peninsula, we'll say?
Very much so. Even now, if anything happened and we lost the Panama Canal, we would have to control the islands just north of Antarctica, which are part of Antarctica, and between there and Cape Horn.
I've heard it said that there are 7 continents in the world, and one of them has never been seen by a woman, and that's Antarctica. Is that actually true?
Well, if the Palma Peninsula is an island, as far as I know, that's true. No woman's ever stepped foot upon the Antarctic continent, and it's the most peaceful place in the world.
Well, I'm sure that won't last very long. I understand that now that you're working with the Arnold Bread Company in charge of frozen foods. Now, is there any future for frozen foods down these frozen extremities?
Well, I think the human race can be helped by that. This was thought out by Dean Arnold, who's, in my opinion, a great humanitarian. He learned that we went down there after 4 or 5 years and finished a meal that we had left there on the table when we had evacuated Little America. everything was perfect, including the bread. So he got the idea of this frozen bread, and already he sent some to Europe, and it worked very well over there for some of the starving people. So you can store it down in the Antarctic, and against the lean years, and you wouldn't have any people in the world really starving if you did that.
Yes, in the event of an atomic war...
You stay there forever.
Admiral, you speak of the resources of Antarctica. What are they? What are the natural resources there?
Well, we've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains. It's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while.
Well,
that's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals. We are pretty sure there's oil. Now, that coal shows the bottom of the world. Now, by far the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the winter.
Well,
It was once tropical. So we think there's oil there, and there's evidence, probably uranium there.
is it any secret? Is there uranium there? That would be the only thing that would be practical to actually go after, I suppose. Everything else would be economically unfeasible, wouldn't it?
Well, as we recklessly expend our resources, the time will come when we'll have to go after that stuff down there.
Well,
you know, I avoided what you said about uranium. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to have the world fighting over the Antarctic.
And Robert, is there a competition among other nations to try to get information about Antarctica and possibly to secure some of these resources?
Well, yes. There are now 7 nations very much interested. Russia is interested tremendously. That I'm sure of. Australia has an expedition down there. The Argentine, the Chile, New Zealand, Britain, and so on. Now, you can understand those people down there being interested because they live down there, the New Zealanders, the Argentinians, the Chileans, and the Australians. And so we don't do much about claiming anything.
Admiral, you make this sound a little crowded. Are there that many expeditions now there or en route there?
Well, you know, as I said, it's the most peaceful place in the world, but I don't think it will be for long because of this intense interest on the part of other nations and this nation.
Well, Admiral Byrd, are private expeditions a thing of the past? Is expedition and exploration, making expedition and exploration now purely a government function because of the tremendous
no,
cost
I
and
don't think
organization?
so. I think down south, it may be more or less a thing of the past, but not other expeditions that go. There's a lot of them go north now.
This latest expedition now on the way is a government expedition, I take it.
Yes, that's the government.
Admiral Byrd, may I ask you, is there a great difference between the top of the world and the bottom of the world?
There is. Now, the North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep. The South Pole, the center of a plateau, 10,000 feet high. The North Polar Sea is surrounded by continents slightly frozen. The Antarctic continent is surrounded by a belt of ice, frozen seas of at least 1,200